On Wednesday, October 18th of 2023, Mojang officially released the first snapshot of the Minecraft 1.21 update, which introduced us to the brand new redstone component, the crafter. What does the crafter do? Well, it crafts things. I mean, it does what it says it does. And yeah, I know it's only been a couple of days, but I mean, come on. This is a historical moment. And since the crafters come out, I have not been able to keep my greasy little paws off of it. So today, we're going to be going through the top 5 best uses that I've discovered for the crafter. Let's get right into it. Coming in at spot number 1, we have the single item recipe Autocrafter, or as I like to call it, Sir Crafter. Just by the way, I am numbering these, but they are in no particular order. Anyways, if you've seen my previous video on the crafter, then you'll know that I already showcased this design right here. But since then, I've tweaked it a little bit, and I think I've come up with something just a little bit better, which is this bad boy right here. Now, this guy does work perfectly fine in most situations. However, I did find a couple instances where it does break. So if you're doing something like furnaces or slabs or walls, then this design will work perfectly fine and you don't gotta worry about changing anything. But if you're crafting something like iron blocks, which has an ingredient that can also be broken down, you're gonna find that you have a ton of iron nuggets in your chest. This happens because every time the observer clock activates, it's actually sending the crafter a couple extra pulses that it really doesn't need in the first place. So if we kind of just watch it here for a second, every time this red arrow lights up, that means it's getting a signal and attempting to do a craft. And you'll see every time it does the block, it's actually pulsing twice because of the observer clock. So when that first iron ingot comes in, sometimes it gets a residual pulse and it crafts up a bunch of iron nuggets. So that's why I came up with this bad mamma jamma right here. We still have a comparator reading the lectern, we still have the book set to page 8 out of 15, but instead of having an observer clock like we do over there, I have a repeater going into a block, and we're pulling a redstone line from underneath all the way to the crafter. And I have this one set up to craft oak wood blocks, and as much as it really wants to make those planks, it's not making any planks. And then over here, I have a setup that you might find in somebody's bulk storage area, or this could be connected to an AFK cobblestone farm. So with this particular system right here, I have furnaces, cobblestone walls, cobblestone slabs, and cobblestone stairs. And what's cool about this design is you only need 1 lectern and book and quill for every 2 Autocrafters. You just gotta make sure that the redstone dust coming from the lectern is touching both of these comparators, obviously. And then in the front here, I have some levers. The lever is on the other side of this stone block right here, so it activates this redstone dust, like these ones right here, and it'll push down the redstone block, which will lock the hopper. So this crafter is crafting away, just making up a bunch of furnaces, but if I pull the lever, the redstone block gets pushed down and stops the hopper dead in its tracks. So like I said, I have this set up for the cobblestone variants, but you could just as easily hook this up to an AFK tree farm and get a bunch of oak wood stairs and slabs and all that. Or you could hook a couple of these bad boys up to a bamboo farm. Yeah, this is my bamboo farm. Ain't nothing wrong with it. At the first step, we're turning bamboo into blocks of bamboo, and then we're turning those full blocks of bamboo into bamboo planks. And then our final step here is actually crafting chests. Now this could be just as easily set up for crafting bamboo slabs or bamboo stairs, but I think having an incoming supply of chests just working away passively is every young Minecrafter's dream. So these things are pretty easy to build, but since they're kind of the basis for all Autocrafters, I'm just gonna go ahead and speedrun building one really quick. So you wanna start with a little 2x5 area, pick one of the corners, it doesn't really matter which one, just pick a corner, come up 2 blocks, and place down your crafter. Then on the back side, you want to place down a block and a temporary block right below it. Coming out of that temporary block, you want to place 2 top slabs, and then underneath, you want to place a block here and a block here. And coming out of this block, you want to place a comparator on subtraction mode and a repeater coming out of that. And on the repeater, you want to place another block right here. And then on this side, you want to place 3 blocks. These could be top slabs too, it doesn't really matter. But on this back one, you want to place down your lectern and add a book and quill. It needs to have 15 pages, and you have to set it to page 8. Then coming out of the lectern, you want to place down another comparator and a redstone dust coming out of that to connect it all together. And then down here, you just need 4 more dust, like so. And that is literally it. That's all you got to do to build one of these. Personally, I like to put the hopper up top, but you could just as easily put it into one of the sides like this. You could even have the crafter facing the side and put the chest right here. I mean, really, the world is yours with these things. And moving right along, at spot number 2, we have the infinite fuel farm, or as I like to call it, the Iffy. And yes, this is just another Sir Crafter, but we have a kelp farm feeding into a furnace, and the crafter is packing all that dried kelp into kelp blocks, and using the water stream, we're feeding those kelp blocks back into the furnace, and once the furnace and this hopper are full, we'll start getting a profit of kelp blocks right here into this chest. Now this works really well because dried kelp blocks smelt 20 individual items, which is just over 2 blocks of kelp, so one of them gets sent back to the furnace, keeping it full, and the other one gets sent to our profit chest. I'm not going to build this one block for block because, like I said, it's pretty much the same design as before, but we have the crafter turned to the side so it's ejecting directly into the water stream, and we have the output hopper from the furnace just feeding directly into the side of the crafter. So yeah, while this is using the same design as we did before, I think the usefulness of it makes it worthy of its own spot on the list. Speaking of lists, we're moving on to spot number 3, which is my Shulker box crafter. I don't have a fun name for this one. I love these things so much that I actually went ahead and built a couple different versions of it, and the most basic one is right over here, and I will say that it was pretty tricky to figure out. It definitely would have been easier if I used 3 droppers instead of 2, but I didn't want to have to worry about splitting up shulker shells and putting them in different chests and all that. And shulker boxes are a shaped recipe, so our shulker shell dropper here needed some serious delay between the 2 pulses that it gets. So it gets its first pulse from this button, then the signal wraps all the way around the back and into the dropper full of chests before making its way through all of these repeaters and back into the first dropper. Meanwhile, these 6 repeaters are slowly lighting up and making their way to the crafter to finish the recipe after it gets all of its ingredients. Now I do have a version of this that's using the lectern and comparator system, but as you can tell, it is taking up way more space. So personally, I like this version just a little bit better. So every time you press this button, the first shulker comes in, and then the chest, and then the second shulker, before finally the shulker box gets dispensed right at your feet. And obviously you could put a chest here to collect the shulker box, but normally when you're grabbing a shulker box, you're kind of just on the move anyways, so I think it's cooler to have it dispensed at your feet than having to open up another GUI. But if you prefer to have your shulker boxes placed down for you, all you gotta do is smack a dispenser right in front of the crafter, and Bob's your uncle. Since the repeaters are going directly into the crafter, it's being strongly powered, which means it's sharing that redstone strength with the dispenser. And that brings me to this setup right over here. This is basically the ultimate version of that guy over there. Obviously this one is a bit more complicated, but I think it'll be perfect for any storage room you'll ever have. As you can tell, we already have a shulker placed down on the floor, so when I press the button, a piston actually breaks the shulker box, and we wait just a couple seconds, and here comes a brand new, freshly crafted shulker box. So let's just say that your storage room is off this way somewhere. You can start filling up this box with all the things that you need for your project, and once this one is full, you press the button, it pops up for you, and a brand new one is on its way. Now let's say you're done with the shulker box and you want to unload it into your storage room. You come over here to the new shulker barrel, throw that bad boy in there, and here it is, right back in the floor where you need it. So our dispenser's right here, and we have a comparator reading the hopper that goes directly into the dispenser. This comparator tells this piston to break the shulker that's there, and it's also sending a signal over to the dispenser, which is what's placing down our new shulker box. We also have these 2 redstone lamps right here, which is letting us know whether or not we have the ingredients to craft a new shulker box. And I did that just by having some comparators read the droppers. So let's say one of these lights turned off and we ran out of chests. I didn't want to have to climb all the way back here through all this redstone just to refill the droppers, so I put in this barrel right here, just loaded up full of the ingredient that it's missing, and all those items are making their way over to this auto dropper. They're coming up through the bubble vader and into this line of hoppers, where we have 2 item filters, making sure that the ingredients are going to the correct droppers. By the way, I definitely did have these item frames backwards. This one is supposed to be the chest, and this one's supposed to be the shulker shell. But other than those few modifications we made, this thing is pretty much doing the exact same thing that these are doing. The redstone just got a little bit messier because I had to wrap it around all of our extra features, but if you could build and understand one of these, then I'm sure you could eventually work your way up to that guy over there. So let me show you how to build one of these. So you want to start off with a 3x8 platform like we have here. Place down your crafter front and center, pillar up 2 blocks on either side of the crafter, place a hopper going into the crafter and a barrel on top of that, and then you want your 2 droppers facing into the barrel. Place down your wooden button right underneath the dropper on the right, and behind the dropper with the button, you want to place 5 more blocks like this, and on the other side, you'll place 5 blocks again, except the last one needs to be up a block. Coming out of the block with the button, we want to place down a repeater set to 4 ticks, and then we wrap our redstone dust all the way around into this dropper right here. Next, we'll need a block on top of this dropper, and then coming out of that same dropper, we want to wrap around 8 top slabs, like so, and then we'll place down a dust, followed by a repeater set to 4 ticks, 3 more dust, and then 3 more repeaters all set to 4 ticks. finally, down here in the middle, we want to place down 6 more repeaters, and these will all be set to 4 ticks as well. And remember that shulker shells go into the dropper on the right, and all of your chests go into the dropper on the left. Now you have 2 options. Either you could leave it just like this and have the shulker dispensed at you, or you could place your dispenser right here, bring the floor up a block, and have the shulker box placed automatically. Next up on our list, at spot number 4, we have the automatic firework crafter, or as I like to call it, 4th of July. Now, I feel like this one is pretty self-explanatory, so obviously, it's crafting up a ton of fireworks for us. And we are back to using the lectern and comparator trick, except this time, the signal isn't just crafting the item, it's also sending a signal to both of the droppers, which is what's sending the crafter its next set of ingredients. We also have an observer facing a note block, which will power the dispensers, because in the event that your droppers empty out and you have to refill them, this thing won't just start crafting again on its own, you actually have to kickstart it by powering that observer. But now that we gave it that kickstart, it can continue its cycle of mass-producing rockets. Also, I should mention that you could very easily hook this up to a creeper farm, and then have a sugarcane farm leading into another Sir Crafter. Yes, I am going to keep calling it that, I love it, and I think it's fun. But right here, we have the sugarcane pouring in and automatically crafting us paper, which is coming down here to this chest and keeping it full. And like I said, you'll have a creeper farm hooked up over here, and then this thing will just pump out rockets until the cows come home. Now, to build this bad boy, you want to start off with a 3x5 space, place down your target block front and center, crafter on top of that, with the hopper going into the crafter. Now bring up 2 blocks on either side of the crafter, and place your droppers facing into the hopper. Come around the back side and place your observer, with the note block directly in front of that. Next, you'll want hoppers going into both of the droppers, and large chests on top of those. And then around the back here, we want 3 redstone dust coming out of the target block, a solid block coming out of the crafter, and then we'll bring these 8 blocks here up a block, comparator in subtraction mode, followed by a repeater, 2 redstone dust, and another repeater. Then in the back corner, we'll place down our lectern with another comparator and another redstone dust. And make sure you have a book set to page 8 out of 15. Next, we'll place a block above this redstone dust and 3 more going right here, and cover all of those with redstone dust. Finally, I'm sure you'll want to put a chest right here, but you could also put a shulker box loader, which would probably be recommended. Also, it is worth noting that instead of this note block and observer, you could easily just put a block with a button. I just think that the note block is a little bit more fun. And finally, last but far from least, at number 5 on our list, we have the bulk Autocrafter. And yeah, I don't have a fancy name for this one either, but I'm super proud of this thing. Now, I did showcase this in my previous video on the crafter, so really quick, I'm just going to go over it one more time. We have 9 double chests and 9 droppers, and each double chest and dropper pair resembles 1 slot of the crafter or 1 ingredient of the recipe. So this chest right here resembles spot number 1 on the crafter, and this chest down here resembles slot number 9 on the crafter. This being slot number 1, and this being slot number 9. And now this thing does have 2 different modes. It has manual mode and automatic mode. So if I press the button for manual mode, it's going to send a signal to all 9 droppers, and all the items will make their way into the crafter, which will automatically craft the item as soon as it gets all 9 ingredients. And now if I flip the lever for automatic mode, it's going to activate this hopper clock, and every time the redstone block shifts over, it sends a signal to all 9 droppers, and the crafter will continue to get ingredients and continue to craft up whatever you're trying to craft. Now I have this big ol' array of comparators and repeaters going into what's basically an AND gate, but I'm kind of treating it as a NOR gate. So if any of the 9 redstone torches from the droppers turn on, meaning the dropper emptied out of its ingredients, or if our lever over there is turned off, then this redstone torch will be on. And if any one of these redstone torches turns on, this redstone dust will light up, which will deactivate our hopper clock and prevents the crafter from getting any more ingredients. And like I said, these comparators are detecting if any of the droppers run out of inventory. So if we pull this sand out here, you'll see that this redstone torch turns back on. So even if we reactivate automatic mode, the hopper clock still can't be turned back on because of this redstone torch. Now I have a second set of redstone torches here, which are powering these sticky pistons connected to redstone blocks. So that way on the front end of the machine, we have an indication as to which ingredient has run out. Also, I do want to mention that I have this open just for the sake of the video so you guys can see what's going on, but I designed this specifically so that you could come through with a building block and cover up all this nonsense. And I think you end up with a pretty clean looking machine. Now this machine is on the bigger side, so to build it, you're going to need an 8x19 space. And to start off, you want your crafter 6 blocks in on each direction, so 5 blocks from the edge on this side, and 5 blocks from the edge on this side. And notice that this crafter is placed sideways, so we'll set our output chest here, and a hopper going into that. And on the back side of the crafter, we want to place 9 hoppers leading into it, and then place 9 barrels on top of those hoppers. And from the barrels, you want to come up 2 temporary blocks, build this out just a little bit, and use those temporary blocks to place down your droppers. You're going to need 9 of them, obviously. And then place a hopper going into each one of those droppers, and then double chests on top of those hoppers. droppers. So now we got something that looks like this. And in line with that chest down there, we skip a block from all of these barrels and start setting up our control panel. On the side closer to the droppers, we'll place down our button, and on the side further, we'll place down our lever. And coming out of the block with the button, we'll step up 3 blocks, and then place redstone dust going all the way across all of the droppers. And coming out of these barrels, we want to bridge out 2 blocks. Next, we'll place down 9 comparators and 9 repeaters. Now we'll extend out 2 blocks from each repeater and place 9 redstone torches on the first block and redstone dust on the second block. On the side with the control panel, we'll want another block coming out of here with a redstone torch on top. And on the other side of the lever, we'll want to place down 6 blocks going this way, come up 1 block and place down 2 more, and extend a redstone line all the way from the lever to our redstone torch. Now on the other side, we want to make another platform that's 2 by 6, and this is where we're going to build our hopper clock. So put down a redstone dust here, followed by a sticky piston, place down a redstone block right here, and a sticky piston on the other side of that, redstone dust on the other side of the sticky piston with a block next to it, a block next to this redstone dust as well, and then we want 2 comparators going into each one of those blocks, followed by 2 hoppers that are feeding into each other. Now this is super critical. We need 6 items in the hopper clock. Anything less than that and it will actually break the system. You could put more in there if you wanted to, but it'll just make the machine run slower. So I don't really know why you would want to do that. And then coming out of this block right here, we want to bridge out 4 blocks this way and 2 blocks this way. Then we'll place down some redstone dust right here, a repeater on this middle block, and then another dust right here. Now these ones don't have to be top slabs, but this block right here needs to be a transparent block so it doesn't get strongly powered and activate the dropper early. And then on the far side of the crafter, we want to place down another solid block, replace these 2 blocks right here with top slabs, put a comparator in subtraction mode coming out of the block, and a repeater behind that. Place a solid block on the other side of the repeater and get rid of this lower block as well. And then below the comparator and repeater line, we want to place down 4 blocks. And we're going to pull a redstone line from the back block all the way to the front block, which will power the crafter. Now you can replace these 2 blocks, have a comparator going into the other comparator, and this one's going to be reading our lectern, which will again have a book set to page 8 out of 15. And that is the bare bones system. You can decorate it however you like. You can put whatever materials you want into it. Just remember that they need to be in the proper order. So this being slot number 1 and this being slot number 9. Also, if you want to have the redstone lamp indication like I do over here, you're going to place a line of blocks on top of the redstone torches and add another row of redstone torches on the side of those blocks, and then another row of blocks on top of those torches. Have a line of 3 slabs coming out of there, and now you can place down your sticky pistons on the far end, add a row of redstone blocks, leave a gap right here and place down your repeaters, and have those repeaters lead into another line of blocks here. And below the final line of blocks, we can come through with all of our redstone lamps. And yeah, like I said, that is pretty much it. You could decorate it however you want. Instead of having the redstone lamps here, you could have a line of item filters, making sure all the chests are getting filled up with whatever item you want them to be. But really, the only things you need are all down here. So that is it, guys. That is the top 5 best uses for the Autocrafter that I've personally come up with myself. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you plan on using any of these designs in the future. I would love to see what else you could come up with. It has been your boy Bales, and I'll catch you on the flip. No pancake. Really quick, I just wanted to say thank you guys for all the support on the last video. In less than 24 hours, that thing became my 2nd most viewed video, which is crazy. But what's even crazier than that is I just hit 400 subscribers. That is huge for me. I'm really trying to make this YouTube thing my job and my career, so it really does mean the world. So if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and check out some of my Let's Play videos. That's where I put like a majority of my effort. Way more effort goes into those videos than this one. But again, just thank you guys. I love you. Catch you later.